Dr. Lantoinette Stines.
Hi.
It is such an honor for me to be hosting you here on In Studio, on the In Studio podcast. And I'm so grateful that you consented to join me.
But I'm honored. I don't know why you need to be
No,
grateful.
I am
I'm
the one that's
honored.
honored. I'm so happy that somebody of your stature could join us.
Thank you.
Last time I saw you in person was at the Lacadco, a big celebration at
Philip Sherlock?
at Philip Sherlock.
Yes.
That was what again? Remind me.
40th anniversary.
40th anniversary, and our mutual friend
Celia.
Hines, Jones Hines,
Yeah.
invited my wife and myself, and we were thoroughly entertained.
Thank you so very much.
Tell me about the 40 years of Lacadco.
Oh, Lord. Tell you about the 40 years of
That's a big
Lacadco.
question, eh?
That is a whoa question.
Well, all right, let me narrow it down.
Okay. Entire 40 years.
No, we're not. It's joke I'm making. Well, I know a lot of your story from a previous production I did with you.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say, the first time I saw you, in life was one day. I don't know what I was doing at School of Drama. I was probably at School of Dance. I was probably shooting something for JBC at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there showing the students something. I don't know. You're like a guest lecturer of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. This is Lantoinette Stines. And then I obviously met you again some few years ago.
Yeah.
But tell me about how your journey in dance started.
Okay. Okay, that's a good beginning, I think.
Yeah.
But my answer is always quite, different from most people. I think my journey in dance didn't begin here on this earth. I think it began with the guiding light of God. I honestly think so. I feel honored because I believe, and if I believe that then it's true, that I was chosen to do a job. You know, each of us have different things we have to do. I got a job to do. And my mother said I was dancing. This here is causing tickling.
It looks so beautiful, though.
Thank you. She said she think I was dancing from in her womb. Dance for me is many things. So therefore, for me, dance is not just going into a dance studio and dance. You know, some people think you're a dancer because you went into a dance studio. I have been to places, sit down and see a old woman dance, and I get goose pimples because it's our spirit dancing. You know. So from a baby, I was moving, I was dancing. But formalized training, which is a different thing, began with a woman that I feel a little embarrassed, but I'm not embarrassed because I was so young. I don't remember her name, but I remember her well, you know, that my mother took me to. And she was just a little lady who teaches little first position and little this. But it stood in my brain, and I always pray for her, you know. And then I ended up with a woman named Alma Mokian in Harborview. And it was because I was taking the bus from Alpha up Harbour Drive and see this dance class from the back of our yard. And supposed to be going home to my yard, you know, come off of the bus. I don't live on that side, I live on the other side. So I have to go wait for another bus or walk. And stood up outside watching these girls dance. And it was very exciting for me. And put on my school bag and hold on to the gate. And decided, say, I'm going to copy them. Everything them, I take in the class with them. And I took the bus home on the days that I saw this class happen and come off the bus. And out at the gate, take the class, because you could see from the gate straight through to where the children are. And then somebody tell on me get catch. And she came outside and she said, what are you doing, you know, Alma? And poor me frightened, you know. She said, you think you can do the class? Well, from I was little, I was like this. I said, of course I know I can do the class. No, I think maybe I said I can do it better than them. Maybe I don't know. No, knowing me, it's very possible I could have said something like that at that age. Very precocious. So I ended up in the studio, scared now go tell my single mother that I wanted to come pay for me for dance class. So me was going and don't tell my mother. And finally, Mrs. Morgan, I guess, asked me about my mother. And finally, my mother came. And finally, I was really officially in the class. And that's where it began. And what was beautiful about Mrs. Mokien is that in that space in Harborview, we got to a taste of classical ballet. More than a taste, because we took Royal Academy dance exams. That's more than a taste. We got to do Graham technique with Clive Thompson, because she and Clive were good friends. Every time Clive come to Jamaica, he would give give us Graham class. And we also got to have a sense of our traditional folk form. So we were not being fully Eurocentrically entrenched. We were still becoming aware of Caribbean folk form, not just Jamaica, because she had a sense of folk forms throughout the Caribbean. So it broadened our perspective on dance, from a young child. And so I was ready now because my mother and my father had made a pact. When I got the time to go to college, he must take over. He was in America. So I was ready now to go to America, to go to my father, go to college. Miss Moken was quite upset about that. But that's a different story because I was leaving. But I left and I went to America to our father who didn't want me to dance. To our father who said, you're not going back to no dance class. It's stupidness. To our father who threw away all my pictures of me as a dancer and said to me, no, I see me no dance clothes and no dance nothing. The school you come to go, no dance nothing. So here I'm at a Queen's College. I start a little dance group. Him don't know. So, you have the West Indies Association and me in the association, I go put on an event, of course, choreograph dance and people are perform. But more than that, it became such a hit that we were now performing throughout these schools, So, but my father don't know nothing. And I don't have no leotard and tights in my yard. People bring them for me. So when I go to school, somebody have a leotard for me, a tights for me, something for me. And so I didn't need any to carry us from there. But then my interest, I couldn't help myself. I ended up in Manhattan. I reached Alvin Ailey School now. And I reached a place, I'm a choreographer named Pepsi Bethel. And Clark Center for the Performing Arts was well known for dance. Me find all of them now. I know everyone. I know how to take the train now from Queens to Manhattan and find every school. Me in every school. My father don't know. Don't know a thing. And I reach home on time every day. I have it set. Him no know so I'm going to do all of this. And from there it evolved until I am now at Ailey School taking classes. I am now working off Broadway in plays. This time now, it was a little too traumatic for me, my father's. The right word is understanding, because Rasta says if you fully understand, you say overstanding. You overs. Well, him never overs. Him under. Him definitely never overs. And there's a good end to the story, though. And so I end up now getting married, and my son's father, Ronald Stines, who God bless him, he died, and leaving New York now to live in Miami because of his work. And I see a little girl going up the escalator in a leotard and tights. And I said, okay. And a little black girl. I said, okay. So I followed the little girl. And I said, where do you dance, miss? Excuse me, can you tell me where you take class? And she tell me somebody named Florence something. I don't remember the last name. And where it is. Of course, I go there and tell the woman, say, I think I can teach for you. But the woman was really a very good businesswoman who knew how to run a dance school. But I knew more about dance than her. And so I ended up teaching there. And I guess it wasn't enough for me. I ended up in Liberty City. And in Liberty City, they had this huge auditorium. And I stopped my car and go inside and I see this dance studio. And I see ballet bars. And nobody's working in it. I find the manager and I say, I'm trying to remember the name of the place now. That's what I've been doing all this time. And I can come back to it if I find it. But it's in Liberty City. And I asked permission to use it. I have no money to pay for it. The man said, yes, we want things to happen. The community would love this because we have nothing for the children. It's a black community, And I start classes. in this place. When the place had a dance studio and an office area, and in the office area, I see all these cloths, hanging up. Cloth, army cloth, chiffon, just so nobody want them. So I look at the cloth. I said, then you're going to have to choreograph to match the cloth. Because you don't have no way to find cloth. You don't have no money. So if you have to find a militant thing for the army cloth, and you find something gentle and very classical looking for that cloth, and you choreograph to match the cloth. And that's what I did. I choreographed to match the cloth. Because I know I have cloth to make costumes already. And I know some mother among these children going cancel. So if I just have the cloth and this mother who is so happy to see her child dancing, I will have costumes. And that is how I started to Lacadco. It never named Lacadco at first. It named what's the Caribbean Dance Company. Mm-hmm. Most very creative. Me young, me fool. Me don't know what I do. But me can start choreographing. I evolved over time. You start somewhere. But I must tell you, I will go back a little. When I was a child, I had an appendix issue and I had to do an appendectomy. I was up at UE in the children department ward, and them come and them can't find any child who could walk. They couldn't find. Me have them outside giving them dance class on the grass. So them come inside and say, what happened? Me outside and plie and.
How old were you?
Maybe 12.
Wow.
But I was teaching a dance class to all these children. Out on the grass. Me lead them out, I tell you, my story is very interesting.
Spunky.
Very interesting. And I remember choreographing in my mother's garage too. These shoes are made for walking. I will never forget it. My first piece of pure foolishness, But I choreographing and I have 5 chairs. And I have to go up on top of the chair and come in the garage. I was choreographing for nothing. Just to have these kids in the neighborhood. I would in the garage, I teach them how to dance. And that is why when I get young people who are brand new and them say them trying to choreograph, I allow them. I don't judge them. Because this is the beginning of another great choreographer. This is the beginning of, you don't cut them down. You don't say, it's like, all right, my love, do your thing, And you even advise, say, maybe if you do this, maybe if you do an entrance, so, because you have had the time to, but you don't, so I've gone off altogether.
No, you haven't. I wanted to ask, this is why you have so many different choreographers in your productions.
Oh, since let me answer you. There are 2 reasons why I have choreographers. So I must tell you the truth, right? Because God is looking at me. One is because when I have very militant, revolutionary, passionate consciousness. I think I have the lives of women. Really, I see a mad woman on the road and people laughing at her and it bothers me. She didn't just get up one morning and get mad. What caused her to be mad? Why nobody thought about that, You don't laugh at her. You try to help her. But you stand there and you laugh at her. And I remember watching a woman in front of courts never have nothing beside the time. It was just land in halfway crossroads. I remember watching her cook one day and she killed a cockroach and she put it in her food and I watch her sit down the day and I watch her woman. I put it on stage. And I put it on stage on Celia Jones Hines. And it was called Have You Ever Been There? Because she went from that woman, she had 3 personalities, to the next woman who thought she was a ballerina, who put on her lipstick like this. And I remember having a teacher in Alpha. And I'm sure she wasn't too righted. Because when she used to put on her lipstick, she'd take the mirror and then she'd lipstick herself. And I put that on stage. And I remember coming down Hope Road one day, seeing a woman walk in a very strange way. And that ended up on the stage. And I realized that I really pay attention. And there was, coming from Harborview, Bellevue, and there was a fence. It wasn't as it is now. And there was a man who used to sit like this. And I would go to school in the morning and come back in the evening and the man is right here. I remember I going to school for an 8 o'clock class, And I leave in school about 2, 3 o'clock, and the man is still there in the exact same position. And I put Howard Daly on a table to sit that way for the whole dance. Now, poor Celia is working her, she dancing and she dancing. You know who the real fall in love with? Howard, who sit down so. Because he couldn't take him eye over how, because he did not move until the very end. You see him just drop backwards. And I remember Alma coming and said, you know what you need to do? It was the most fabulous end. Put people underneath the table. Cut some hole. And you see when him drop, you just see all these hands of mad people coming out through the hole. Them under the table the whole time, you know. Wow. It was amazing. And because I can't have a show of my work alone, poor people would end up in Bellevue. That's what I tell myself. Because I choreographed the boys who were murdered in Portmore. Little boys. Police killed them off. Mm-hmm. And I choreographed it to the news from Irie FM. Mm-hmm. And I begged the Irie FM for the news, and they were dancing to the man talking the news. I choreographed Como Brathwaite's work, Jean Bintabree's work, about these women who all have things in common. And the main thing they have in common is pain. So you need to have other choreographers who lighten up the thing. But then one year I choreographed a dance and my son tell me, say, it's not me. It was about this dancer, Don Dada, who have about 100 girlfriends. And him dead. And the wife is Christian. And then you see all these girls, and 4 of them pregnant for him. And them coming to the funeral. And when people put down things like them have the money you put down, you see them take out back the money and put in them pocket. It was a hill. My mother said it was her favorite dance because she couldn't stop laughing. And nobody believed that was the choreographer.
Well, but before we continue, I just want to shout out to Creative Sounds Studios in Kingston, Jamaica. We're hosting us today, and Creative Sounds, of course, is a music production and audio production facility. They make commercial jingles for TV and radio commercials, and they produce music beds for all types of audio productions. And of course, they do podcasts like we're doing today.
And I put dancehall on stage. I was the first person to put dancehall on stage.
Wow.
Boyaka Boyaka. The first time it ever went on a proscenium stage. But so after New York and Miami, and I one morning, I don't know what happened, you know. Dance companies, dancers, especially of different cultures, function very different from our own people. And I was not happy with a lot of things. And I decided I'm going home to my own country. And I came home. But when I came home, I made another decision. I don't want to have a dance company. So I offered myself to Prof. I said, I don't want to have another dance company.
You mean Nettleford?
Yes.
Yes.
I offered myself, I went and I had a meeting. I can speak it now because he admitted it to other people that I did it, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm not speaking behind his back. Mm-hmm. Other people, him laughed with other people and said, yes, she really did. You know, she did offer her services. But he said to me, you know, you must go on the North Coast and create a group that can perform. Now I look back, maybe I should have did it for true. No. No, but then that wasn't what I wanted to do, you know. But I thought the respectful thing to do was to at first say, you know, I'm here. I have all this experience. I have all this training. And I think one of the things that I am best at is training the body to dance, you know. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I decided also I am not starting La Cadco until I look at everything existing. Because who am I? Suppose what I want to do is here already. You know, so people come back to Jamaica and they feel, oh, I have this and I'm going to give this and I'm going to do this. It never occurred to them that this might be here already. So it's an ego thing. So I said to myself, no, sir. Let me humble myself. And although I went away and got trained, there's somebody here who might have done the same thing. And I watched and I looked and I realized that what I want to say on a stage wasn't there. The language I'm going to use to express it with was different. So I thought in my head that it's good to have many dance companies because when you buy a ticket to my show, you see something. And then when you buy to the next show, you see something else. And all it do is your taste buds feel good, you know, it is yummy. It's like eating a meal, and but you get a menu. You say you want fish. You say you want, and I say, let me taste the fish, and so but it never come off that way.
So how did you? Okay, you wanted to start your company. You've observed the environment and the landscape. How did your dance technique, land tech, evolve and become?
I'm gonna finish answering something you asked me before.
Yeah,
I am in love with younger choreographers,
yeah.
and that's and I am going to support young Jamaican, Caribbean choreographers. I think ones abroad have a lot of support. I think always need the support.
And your daughter as well is a
Yeah,
choreographer in her
yeah,
own right.
yeah. Oh yes,
And she has done some important work
oh
herself.
yes, oh yes, very important work. She. I've never seen anybody put the song on stage. The ship that all the people she put the song on stage. She's a very bright young lady and very aware of what has happened historically in time, and so she's my teacher.
She has good
Sometimes
DNA.
I do. I guess so. I guess so. But relative to Lantic,
Yeah.
Lantic began in Florida. It began on a piece named Sata. Sata is now documented as one of the iconic pieces of the Caribbean, and it began there. I love Caribbean people. I feel like I'm a daughter. I feel Jamaica is my mother and my father, and the other Caribbean islands are my aunties and my uncles. So I have a relationship with them. But my mother and my father is Jamaica.
And in Lakadka, you have people from various Caribbean nationalities.
That is why I changed the name to a United Caribbean Dance Force. Yeah, that's why I changed that name. Because I felt like I wasn't respecting all these islanders that come into my company. That's why I always say they should say Lakadka represents Carrico, because we have all of them. But relative to Lantic, that started in Miami on SATA. Unconsciously, I wasn't in my head saying I am going to create a technique. I didn't even have that. I'm not that bright. I'm not saying that. I just know that when I was in New York City, I was in a dance company, and the man said I'm choreographing a Caribbean dance, and me at the Caribbean and me can't find a dance. Caribbean. And I dance the dance and I wait for something Caribbean happen. Who tell me to go say to the man? I'm from Jamaica. I'm Caribbean. Would you like me to give you some Caribbean steps? Did I get it? I almost get fired. No. I know what is Caribbean. Because I know another technique created in the in America that I had not mentioned the name by an African American that I have the greatest respect for. Her name, I'm going to mention it because it's very, how she respected us is by bringing the eyes to the Caribbean. And the people are aware that there is Caribbean dance, and her name is Catherine Dunham. So if he knows that, me, who is really Jamaican, can't show him anything. And I was like, oh. And he was most upset with me. But as I got older, I realized, you know what? When people don't complain about things and do nothing. You know, that table is dirty. That table is the Lord Jesus, me can't take it. The table dirty. It's so dirty. Wipe it off now. Do a solution for it. And that was in my brain the whole time. Do a solution. People can't keep doing that and you don't find a solution. But when I was in a studio, and I always have ballet class, because that's, and then I said, I can't do this no more. One morning I never remember, I can't. I said, I feel like I will vomit. This ballet, but this is not, we can't do it no more. And I sent to a dancer to go to a record and buy a record. That time it was a record. Now them call it vinyl. A third world album. On which Sata was on that album. And my hands
Sata Masagana.
Yes, and my hands started to do different things. And I started to do certain things, and my hips started to do certain things, and it was a class. It wasn't choreography. And it became, this is the play for the now, and my back is doing other things. And I looked at it and I said, hey, that look like me. And dancers more comfortable because it feel like them like it belonged to them. It took 18 years to develop the technique. Because You have to. A technique is not just something you get on and develop and get. It's like making a new medicine. Take years to test it, and it's how it feels to me. But and also the research, the decision as what are you really making? You're making cake? Are you making bun? You're cooking ackee and saltfish. What you making? What is the product in the end? So if you don't know your product, how you going to know the ingredients? You know, and if you don't know what is technique, because some people mix up technique and style and process. They're three different things. They're all very important, but they are three different things. So you have various dramatic techniques. There's methodology in a technique. There's philosophy in a technique. There is anatomical differences how it affects the body in a technique. So where I was fortunate is to have studied a lot of technique when I was in New York, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. You can't you cannot take something that exists like kumina and carry it into a studio and call it your technique. Kumina, they exist. What you do with the kumina and evolve out of the kumina is different. But you can't take the pure kumina and say you have created kumina.
I'm curious to ask, because since our first conversation many years ago, I have learned a little bit of thing. You know, even from you and watching back the video and so on, I've learned something from it. And I want to ask you, if you use the classical form as a reference and evolved from that to form Lantec?
Well, that's a good question. When a person who writes about technique says technique borrows from others because things exist. So you have to, the thing is now, what is the classical form? You see, when people look at classical ballet, they assume immediately that it's fully European. When you go 4000 BC and look at hieroglyphics, you see the same legs. You see the port de bras arms on hieroglyphics. So how can that now? Something's a problem here now. Because somebody goes somewhere and see it, bring it into, and act like them it is their full idea. The positions of the feet are in an Indian technique from 3000, 4000 BC. First position, second position. Slightly different because the foot is slightly apart, but it's still a foot turned out. The arm positions. So the word classical is really a freaky word. I went into a dictionary and the example of classical is ballet. You have classical African, you have classical Indian, you have classical. So I decided it belongs to me. It not necessarily is European in my consciousness. I learned it from in a European construct, but things in it came out of spaces that relate to my heritage as well. Because I can't help myself, my basic first training was classical ballet, and because I am training the body, this is my product. To be able to move from be trained in the technique, to move into a modern company anywhere in the world, to move into a ballet company that they would need more training because they don't have the pure ballet in, but at least they have the base. To move into a traditional company, that's what I'm training the body to. I'm training the body to be out of many one people. So to do that, I have to take in consideration everything that came across the ocean. So when the ship landed, it landed with Africans and Europeans. They came off together. The Europeans knew how to market and entrench their culture into your brain bottom through methods of worship, through clothes, through food. But no matter what they did, we're still eating ackee and saltfish. We're still eating African food. We still have words like chaka chaka. We have words like dunkunu. We still have Africa in our consciousness. You see, I decided that I have to take the African traditional folk forms and dominate it. But the base that I can then train, I am not training a traditional dancer. I'm training a modern contemporary dancer. So I have to use that base because I don't want a person to leave my dance space and can't get a job. And one has to be realistic. If them come out of my dance space and all them know is my movement and my movement can't relate to anything else in the world, why they must why they must learn that? They must can come out of my movement. And I have done it because I have dancers who end up in Lion King, dancers who end up in Garth Fagan Company, who end up all over the world. I have a dancer now who is director of a ballet company in Germany, a ballet. So, and I don't claim to teach the pure ballet at all. But the base they have, they can move into another school and extend on that. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
Well, to be honest, yes, you did. And as you answered that last part about the dancers being taught dance and being able to transition into other forms, one thing I noticed about your dance is that they're exceedingly fit. They're physical specimens.
I don't teach dance dance, you know. I teach dance, 3 A's.
Dance.
Dance, dance.
Dance.
Dance for me is spirit, mind, and body flowing as one. And so my Lantec begins in a circle, which is a circle of worship, which is constant in Africa, with the drummer in the middle of the floor. That in itself, the use of space for Lantec makes it different from other techniques. The use of space. If it is just like every other technique, it is not a technique. It means you are doing the next person technique. The fingers, I use Indian mudras. The use of positions of arms. This go back all the way in time to represent the womb of a woman. And so the use of the toes, they stand up with the toes off the floor like Indian Kathak. So, and then in the midst of it, they're doing also Kumina. But what they do, they take Kumina onto the ball of the feet. And so it evolved into what it is today. So for me, it is dance, D-A-A-N-C. And I went back to Maureen Warner Lewis' explanation of the long vowel sounds. That we, people say, "Yeah, go down the road," and then it comes from an African tonation, so it's not something me I make up. It's something that other scholars have looked at, So.
Well, you told me a story once about going to Cuba, and you and Lacatco danced, and the Cuban dance aficionados were struck by it and said, "This is something different." Tell me that story.
We were assisted by Mr. Manley, and we went to Cuba. Over the years, I have to be grateful to. I don't know if I should say it. I was very fortunate that I am considered a choreographer, an artist. I'm not looked at as a political being. And I want to be an artist. I beg to be an artist, So I've been assisted by quite a lot, And Mr. Manley has helped me. And a lot of other people in those positions, in both parties. Because I go to represent Jamaica. That's what I go to represent. My country is very important to me. So we went to Cuba to a festival in Cuba of dance companies from all over the world. Little Acadco, Little Jamaica. And it was a dance Sata. First of all, I must tell you, I've never had anybody put on makeup like that on my dancers. It has never happened again. When I explained to them what the dance was about, they brought the dancers into our room. And half the face was one color, and I stood like this, I didn't know what I was looking at. It was gorgeous. And so we did Sata, and the whole place was so silent. I started to cry. And Joseph Manley traveled with us. And he speaks Spanish. He went to translate. And he said, "Lanton, you have to come into this room." And I said to myself, "Jesus, what me do? What me do, Father?" And all these, there's a set of people who studies the methodology of techniques, the process, their job is to do that. They get degrees in that. They use the scientific methods to teach a turn. That's what them do. And they called and they said to me, what were they doing? It is not Graham. It is not La Technica Cubana. It is not Horton. It is not. What is it? Me with my little home here, I said, it is Lantec. And they asked me to teach the company, which was an honor for me. And when I'm teaching the company, it's so different for them. They're asking that, so how you get what you do? How you get it was beautiful to see the companies in class together, doing my technique and realizing that it is so different from what they do. They would have to do beginners, and when we take their class, it's so different from what we do. We would also have to do the same thing. So that is a different technique from other techniques.
What age you start your dancers? What age people start coming to you to learn?
I have a 15-year-old right now in my company.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 13-year-old. Talented, though. I say talented. But right now I have a 15-year-old. That's about, they come from every age, But then sometimes parents know that their children are talented and they want them to be where they can learn to meet the demands of the world of dance. So they bring them young. And what I do is I have great respect for their age. They don't do anything that is too mature. I don't allow them to go on stage and do, oh, I can't do that. My mother don't mind if I do that. I say, it's okay, but me mind. I'm a mother, I have children, and you should not do that kind of, and it's not that I have anything skin out or not, but it could be a mature thing about a man and woman. No, that you can't do that. You do other pieces. In time, as you get older, I have one right now, I just left her. I got her, she came to me from she about 16, she's now 30 something. And she had to go through that, and when the 15-year-old, she said, listen, no, it don't work so. Me go through it too. You can't do that. When it's time, you will do it. And so I find parents feel safe. They feel safe. They know their children will be safe. And one of them, who is the youngest one, just went on tour with us to New York. And it was the first time she was leaving the country. On the stage, you don't know what age she is. You just see a professional dancer.
So they normally come to you with some, maybe ballet or some other modern dance training before?
Not always.
Not always. Sometimes they come to you, that's green.
Right.
Wow.
And I have a class, I call it the prescription class, that happens before the main class on Saturdays, where I take them and I try to move them forward, and I fix things. But I've had them come, what I would say green, but from high school, and then they do dancing in high school, so them not green, them know how to walk on a stage, but their technique need a lot of work, but them have a sense of dance. They have a sense, because let me tell you, the best performance I've ever had is anybody who danced for JCDC competition. I'm a JCDC baby. Alma used to make us enter. And you see the kids that go on stage to perform for them know them have to perform to get the goal, And them have it, but it makes them into performers.
That's just a wonderful thing about Jamaica, though.
Yeah.
We really, we don't have set drawbacks, but we have some really great things about this country.
Yeah.
Certainly culturally.
If anybody was to tell me them going to stop the competitions that happen around, from the culinary, everything. Well, of course, who comes from the dance. It would be very bad for this country if you did that.
It would be awful.
There's children who come from country, they never see a stage, They rehearse in a classroom or in Panica Corner. And then when they reach them see little theater stage or them is like, whoa, them eye them open wide. How them going now open up the dance? And those moments is not about dance, it's about life. It's life lessons they're getting. How do I'm allowed to have a dream. I did dream to go to Kingston and go up on this big stage. That means I can dream now to go to anywhere in the world to do what I want, because I did it. And then we go get the gold medal or the silver medal. What? It is very important. It is very important for our society. All those things that happen. you know, for the photography competitions. It is extremely important. And they have people who come to Jamaica to research it, you know, because they don't have it in a lot of other places. So they want to look at these templates to so that if them can create it.
It's like what we do with track and field. Is that,
Yes.
you know, if we never had champs and we never had all
You
those
you
other
cannot
things, we
not have
couldn't
it.
we couldn't
You
be
have
where we
to
are.
have it.
Yeah.
You have to have it, you know. I have gone to JCDC dance competition. I'm not a judge. I am nothing. We just come to sit down. And I have the best time. Sometimes the children bring tears to my eyes. I full just watching these beautiful spirits. No, like that can, it has to be funded and it has to happen.
You mentioned earlier that in African dance tradition, the drums are at the center, and you have second to none drum section. I want to call them, or a drum component to your company. Talk about how you decided to form that group of drummers and how the drumming informs the dance and informs the movement.
I don't know if I decided. I'm thinking about it. While you're talking, I said to myself, did I decide? Or it just that it had to happen? I look back at Carl Masado. I look back at Anthony Wilson. They call him Ras Happer now in London. Carl Masado, God bless him, he died. He used to drum for NDTC, and then he went away and whatever and came back. So I'm going back far, you know, to these elders. And I decided, I'm thinking when it started, and I remember many years ago, it started with a piece called Bingi, A Mystic Revelation of Rastafari, in which Patsy Ricketts was the lead dancer. And I must tell you that Sata didn't have a solo when I originally choreographed it. And it was Third World that come to my studio and begged me. They was going to do a show at Zinc Fence, and they want Patsy to dance. And I decided to say, okay, we're just going to make a mingle and make her do a solo. And that's how the solo got created. But I was doing Bingi, and Carly came around, and I said, okay, his main forte was the repeater. He never play a djembe or nothing like that. And then there were other drummers that were there. And then drummers started to gravitate to where drummers are. And this season, I sat back in the top and I said, no, how me going to give them drummers your stipend? Because it starts with 5 and it's now 11. There were 11 drummers on stage. I was like, where are them drummers come from? But I know them. They come to rehearsals, but you know, drummers not consistent, you know. You will see 3 today, then the next week you see a different 3. Then the next you see 6 of them together. Then you see 2 they come. Then you see... Some people say, oh my God, the drummers. But I have a very, very good relationship with the drummers. You know, I have great respect for them. I honor them. I thank them very much. No, the relationship between the dance and the drum, that's the second part of the question. Mm-hmm. You people who do interviews always ask 3 questions in a one question.
I know, it's terrible.
If your brain bottom now, listen.
I was telling you sharper than me because I forgot the second part of the question. Listening to the answer.
Thank you, that means I do have Alzheimer's. Thank you, Jesus. You said this. What you said, the relationship. You see, the technique Lantic have specific drumming rhythms to go with specific things. But that doesn't mean I can't teach the technique Lantic to jazz music, because inside that jazz music is a drumming rhythm. I teach, and one of the main rhythms that I teach also is reggae music. Reggae music is very important in my work. So, but inside, a lot of the rhythms we have now, the base of it is that drum. Even if it's this kind of drum, or whatever drum, that is there. But when I'm creating to a step, and the step is being created to Kumina, I need to hear it on the Kumina drums. I need to have drummers to play it for me. The beauty about dance and drum is that the drummers, you don't give them counts. You don't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. The 2 of them have to feel each other. And when the drummer is the drummer that lead the dancer. So a drummer can have a dancer going in a circle for the next 3 days if he wants, you know. Until him does a platato, pop. She can't stop, you know. It is his job. It's him leading her. Now, when you're teaching people of other cultures, them, well, how much is it? How much is the count? What is the count? I said, there's no count. The count is in your spirit. You have to feel that drum. You have to hear that rhythm. And you have to become one with it. And so it is important to have them in class because they are connecting to the spirit of the dancer and letting that dancer evolve through their chakras so that they will fluidly dance. Now some people hear drum and think to how them going fluidly dance to that, believe it or not. So that their energies, their spiritual energies, so they will connect with and the drum can just carry them where they want to go.
So the drums, and I mean, I've seen this, that people can get in a trance. The drummers themselves get in a trance, drumming. Like I see a video once where some guys were drumming like for hours. Jamaican, you know. And I said, oh my God, they're in a trance. The drums do that to the dance as well?
Yes. And that is why when you don't dabble in things, you research it. You know, you can't play Kumina and you don't have a back in a white room. You don't do that. That's dangerous. Because what they used to help the people who go into a trance. And I don't like the word trance. Let me stop. Trance. Because when people in traditional form, they don't go in a trance. Them go upon them journey.
Mm-hmm.
Trance is a European way of saying
sorry. I apologize.
I'm in a trance.
Yes.
No, the people come back and I'll draw where them did go.
Yes.
Them was in Mayal. Them was traveling on them journey. So, this time you asked the question. Yes, it does sometimes. When you hit a Kumina drum, it's not a social drum. The Kumina drum is made to call ancestors. That's the purpose of the drum.
But let's go to the 40th anniversary now. You have some people there who were, I guess, instrumental in making Lakatko work in terms of it's a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys there, you know, I sat there right beside him almost in the theater, and he was your costumer.
Cyprian Thomas.
Cyprian, you know, so I work with the man, and me and him still look for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, well, I know this man, you know, but we had gone on a shoot together because he worked in film. He still works in film. And when we chatting and we realized that, you know, that we knew each other from years before. So tell me about that relationship with the people who were critical and instrumental to making Lakatko a success.
You know that on March 7th, Jamaica Dance Umbrella is going to honor Lakatko. And I take it as I'm very humble and grateful for this honoring because it's your own peers, you know. And I said to Celia and Jacqueline Logan, who danced in Lakatko, and Celia, I don't want you to feel as if it is this set of dancers alone, or just dancers alone, because we stand on the shoulders of so many people who assisted us, you know. And at one time, I remember at the very beginning, Glyn, you at Mandy, was who, because I don't have no business sense. I'm not the person who write hope a letter. Over the years, I've had to develop in a lot of things. And she was very helpful in that way. And Cyprian was our costume designer. I am talking, I would have to think from the first season. And every time I have a season, I honor somebody who has worked with us, you know. And when I look back, it's not just the people that make costumes and do lights, like Nadia Roxborough, who has been doing our lighting for years. But one time Rufus did lights for me too, many years ago, and I don't forget it, and I respect it. I'm a human being, and I try my best to show my gratitude. I try my very, very best, because it's a lot of people for so many years, but also sponsors, you know. And I'm very grateful to my sponsors who have, against, people don't like to sponsor the art sometimes, you know. So the lottery company has sponsored us. Grace Kennedy, was the first one to sponsor us. A small little money for a dance named Sata. And they would never know that smart Grace Kennedy name has been all over the world because of a dance named Sata. That is now in textbooks and everything. And IRA FM. I went to Mr. Young and I said, listen, I do have no way to publicize. And them have a thing called fame. They have other things. And IRA FM said, we're going to big up. It was me and him in a room. And they have always, even after he passed, they continue. Being a company. And I sit in here humbly, have to say, I can't remember every name. But I hope every sponsor knows that I'm very grateful. So, and I mentioned the sponsors like Chase Fund and, Tourism Enhancement Fund and JTB, and it's a whole heap. Bank of Nova Scotia is a whole heap. There will be no Lacatco. There will be absolutely no Lacatco. But then I have people like, for example, Cyprian and Daniel, who makes the costume. For 40 years he's making costumes. That if they was to charge me the real price, they would be naked. They would definitely be naked dancers on stage. Because sponsorship is not just, it's everything. It's a person who said, okay, tonight I will feed them. Food will come backstage for them. It's a person who give us water. It's everybody. And so we develop something that we do every season, which I'm very proud of. In that we have a performance that nobody knows about. It's early in the morning. It's not advertised. It's early on a Saturday morning. It's for homes. It's for girls who are raped and get pregnant. I remember a little girl came to me and she said, Mom, it's the first time I feel like a human being. Because I go on the stage and I give them love. It's for homes, people who are mentally handicapped. It's for elders in homes. And we get the sponsorship to send buses for them. As far as Mobe. For them to come to the theater, and we try to have something for them to eat. And we have tried to give them gift packages. Sometimes we don't get the gift packages to give them. It's so much better when we have the gift packages to give them. But we do know that if it's a hot dog, if it's they're going to come out the theater. But let me tell you something. That is the most blessed performance of the season. You should see the faces. Because it's not just a performance, them have to go into the bus. Them put on them pretty Dan. Them going to the theater. And I talk about it and I feel like tears will come to my eyes. It is my most important performance. And you see them coming into the theater. Last season, I thought them was going to break down the building. I was not there because I was ill, and people told me. I got ill during the season. The drummers, them put on a piece of stamping. Them stand up, them dance with the drummers. They're free, they're free. And I had a team, who assisted with getting this. My Alexander, Lee, my niece. I had Kim, who worked on it. The chairman of my committee, Carol Archer, Professor Carol Archer, and everybody who works on the committee. I fall in love with them. There would be no Lacatco without them. There would be no Lacatco. Ian Gage, who takes off all our pictures. Ian Gage has given me, he has never charged me to take a picture. Never. So we have to honor him. One of the biggest assistants I've had in my years, is my daughter Amani. My daughter Amani has threaded shows. My mother was
Explain threading for our audience who may not know what threading is.
My mother came to a show and I said, you like the show? She said, no. God help me. I said, what? I said, did you enjoy it? No. She said, why? After the one dance, unlock the curtain. I will sit down. Then the curtain opened and another dance. Then she was And I listened to her and I said, I'm going to figure out how to do a show for her. It was for her. It was for my mother. And we started to figure out methods of using either theatrical methods, musical methods, lighting methods, that the curtains never closed for the first half.
And use them as transitions.
Yes. The second half, no, we do something different. But my daughter, Amani, has been very, not only in that way, the website, she did it. Just every, and more than that is, like, for example, my mother was passing away. And I never knew I was not functional. You think anybody could have told me I was non-functional? That's when I had Lantoinette's dream. When I asked dancers I love from every dance company to come and perform. I want people to know that it's not politics. It's the arts. We must love one another. We must support one another. It was beautiful, you know. I asked their directors. I didn't ask them. Because I thought the respectful thing to do is to speak to the director. I'm going to do this show and I would love to. Sometimes I even said who you want to dance. Or they would say who you would like. And them went back to their dance companies. It wasn't a thing of me trying to, they come and they perform and they go back. My mother was passing away. And my daughter took over. And a lot of times in the past, she's now...
How old was she at the time?
I don't remember, but I remember one time something happened somewhere and she was 12 years old and she was running the rehearsal. 12, 13. And other people reminded me of it. But now she has moved into a career as a singer. It is her life. It's her time now. But me still ask her questions. But she's now doing her career as a singer, and I pray for her. Wish her all the best. But also my other children. My son Robert is a lawyer. So everything I want to look at me. One day he said, I'm not your lawyer. I said, but guess what here? Look on it. Because he is an excellent lawyer in Florida. And my other son is a musician. And when you ask the question about drummers, and I told you about that, in the end, my son ended up going to Ghana and getting a degree in drumming, and came back and passed it on, and he was the first to enter festival with a djembe drum. I don't think they knew even know how to judge him, because here was this big round drum over, and he was the first to enter the festival competition on djembe, and teach all these boys at George's. And George's for the first time was getting gold medals in that area. And went to his graduation. He hated academic work. But I was so beside him, And when he does it well. Every minute he's gone up for another award. Here, my brother. Me come to the school. And me do all kind of something. Me never go up on that stage again. It was special. But I can't remember everybody's name now. And I would have to bring a book. If I was to remember everybody's name, I'd have to sit down and write them all up because it's so many. But also the dancers who have danced in Lakadko. All those years of dancers, Many dancers, The Lisa Ogilvies, the Jacqueline Logan, the Celia, Nigel Gage, Kathy Ann Gibbon, Karine McLean. I have to remember all of them, all these dancers.
Actually, Kathy Ann Gibbon was my daughter's ballet teacher.
She's a diva.
Yeah. I meant to ask you earlier, and the conversation took different turns. But did Patsy Ricketts dance as a part of Lakadko?
Yes.
Okay, that was curious. When Third World came to you, if she was a part of...
she wasn't a part of Lakadko. Okay. She had just had twins.
Ah.
She was in rehearsal with 2 children breastfeeding. I mean, she just had twins, and they wanted her to perform at this event. And I said to myself, Sata Solo, no, I can tell you something, sir. Sata Solo is one of the hardest dances to do. It is not an easy piece of choreography to execute. It is the job of the dancer to make it look easy. But when the Sata Solo is finished dance solo, then we knew we ain't going so, because dancers are athletes. So the first ever Sata, the Soloists of Sata was choreographed first on Patsy Ricketts. And then it went to a girl named Jackie. Then it went to Carol O'Rain. Then it went to Patrice Levy. Then it went to a girl named, it just, Glenda Joseph Dennis. And then it went on, and Michelle Gage, and Rima Williams, Carol O'Rain, I said before. And then
Do dancers,
my daughter,
do dancers
Amanda
bring
Stines.
do dancers bring nuances to the dance, even though you're the choreographer of the dance,
Yes.
because they bring nuances to
Oh,
it.
they have a soul. They have a spirit. And I have to allow that, The young lady, Alia Hall, who now dances it, is a totally different set of soloists from Carol Rain. It's not only that their nuances, it's their culture of who they are in this time. It's a different generation, and them have a name for each generation. There are different spirits. Somebody tell me they make from different cells. And so they bring something, she has her, and I do this. I tell them, say, listen, remember, this is your dance. You must be you. And not only to soloists, to others, You have a moment of a solo in a dance. That girl did it before, but that is her now. What you going to give it? How it's going to become you? Because that is important. And I think that's one of the things that make us who we are. I have a face to set of dancers, and I love it because the faceness go on the stage.
The attitude.
I want the faceness to go on the stage. They're brilliant. I have they are doctors, they are lawyers, they are very many different professions on that stage. Businesswomen, and dancers. Dancers who study. My associate artistic director at this time is Jessica Shaw, who will become artistic director. Then there's Orville McFarlane, who takes care of a lot of things otherwise. Then there's Janine Greenland, who dance captain. Shanika Gibbs. It's a lot of them. I have something else too that I'm very proud of, and it's my male dancers. I'm very proud of both males and females. But why I'm proud of my male dancers, all of them start off, and usually them very mager. Now you must see them, Baba.
They're bristling.
Go to gym.
They're bristling. I see them.
Yes, and my choreographers, my in-house choreographers, are Orville McFarlane and Jessica Shaw and Amanda Stines Jones, that have worked as in-house choreographers. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, to close, because this has been my longest interview. Correct, Roshana?
Yeah.
This has been the longest. What I mean, when we talk forever, don't we?
Yes.
It
is my pleasure.
It is the pleasure is entirely mine.
I hope people not get bored.
They will not get bored with you, I promise you. You decided now to study dance at a higher level, and you did a PhD in dance, which is not a common thing. And not certainly in Jamaica.
I didn't do a PhD in dance.
You did a PhD in what?
I did a PhD in cultural studies, focused on dance.
Wow. I stand corrected.
My PhD thesis, entire thesis, is on the methodology towards the development of the technique development, which has to focus on history, anthropology, because cultural studies has to be done from various different disciplines. It did hard out hell. But people had been coming to me to speak to me, to interview me and getting their degrees, and then go and explain things and then sometimes they explain it wrong. Because they only get a taste, It's like I take a sip of water. I didn't get the whole water. And I didn't go and look at us, what is in the water? How the water go? So I decided that, I need to represent my country when it comes to the era of dance on an academic level. So shut up your mouth, humble yourself, and go back to school. And I did that. I am more proud of myself than anybody. Nobody else is as proud of me as me. Because honestly, I got up every morning and gave it up and go back to it every evening. And that I finished and achieved it. Those people who do PhDs know how difficult it is. I've heard people have things to say, oh, yeah, them do PhD. Go and do it. And then say the same thing again. Because if you did tell me, say they go say, I wouldn't did do it. I must tell you the truth. To do a PhD and run a dance company and have children at the same time meant I had to get up 4 o'clock every morning. And it's that time now I've been focused on the PhD until whatever time I start to focus on Lacatco. Because to do Lacatco the way I want to do it, you have to be writing grants, you have to be looking for potential spaces to go on tour, you have to be doing, and so that's from that time. So when that dance class start at 6:30, I want to sleep. Me tired, so me don't even know me choreograph. From 6:30 now I change my hat and I become the artist, the choreographer, the teacher that train, and then maybe by 10, 11, because when you come out to the dance studio, you're so high, you can't drop asleep. Somebody recently told me that I love a thing called pistachios. And them tell me, say, that is the best thing to eat to go to sleep. Me never know. They say, sit here, get tired when you eat it. Me never know. That and chamomile tea. Because it's difficult to come down. And I have another thing I love dearly. Netflix. I love movies. Everybody was to ask me what is my hobby. The two things, reading and movies. But it's so difficult to get to do the reading when you have so much to do. You have to pick a time. I said, this is the time of the year I will just read. Or this is the time of day, or this day of each week. So, yeah, if somebody to tell me, then I wouldn't have to do from 4 to something and go back in the mag. I wouldn't have to be going in the field and doing all of that research. And I would have so much time to do other things. I give thanks that the divine energy of the universe helped me.
Well, I have one last question, a second last question.
Yeah, all right. You might have a third one too.
No, I'm going to cut myself off.
Yeah.
Describe a typical season of Lacatco, including the tour.
Okay, a typical season, you mean what a year is like?
What your year is like?
Because, this thing called the season of dance that happens at the theatre, we don't have a typical one.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one is different. You don't know what the painting on the wall for a season, different paint gets used, different everything. It's just a different thing. But a typical, because of COVID, it changed a bit. COVID, it kind of everything just plop. My plan for the typical year of Lacatco, whether it happens every time or not, I don't know, but that is my plan, is to go on a minimum of 2 tours a year. And we don't have a season every year. We have it every 2 years because I have to go into my artistic space. I have to come with something you never saw before. And my problem is the audience expects it now. This is my biggest issue now. I should not have done that. I have to live up to the audience now who say we're going to Lacatco. Say. You don't know where I go see. They might jump out of the roof because I have done it. Dancers have come out of from up down. So I have to figure out what am I going to do so that people will feel like what they got is worth it. And in my mind, the first dance must make you feel like it's worth it. So 2 tours per year. Then there is Atlantic exams that dancers take. A time, and the Atlantic exam takes a time, because it's individually and they have to write. Because I want a dancer who's intelligent. I want a dancer that when they leave my country and they go to another, and I say to them, so tell us about Gary. Them can say, well, it comes from this. Tell us about Naya Bingi. Oh, and the drum is this. And so my dancers, and I have a textbook that I'm now going to offer to the school system that has in it Kumina, Naya Bingi, the various things I've researched. And so they have that exam. The tours, the exams, and then added to that now is going to be a biannual dance intensive that will take a whole different form that I'm not talking about right now. So and the process of training. But while that is happening, we are also performing consistently in this country, and part of my plan was to always be seen at CARICOM. The first 5-year aim was for Jamaica to know us. I wanted Jamaica to know us, and the nicest thing that ever happened to me was to go to Trelawney to a funeral of the mother of that Dr. Yannick Hume, one of my dancers. and a man selling coconut on his side. I stopped to buy a coconut, and him said, "The dancer lady. The dance company, La Quad, I can't pronounce it, The lady who that name land something. I you that, don't it? Him don't know what him do. It's like him give me the biggest present I got. The man on the corner of the road selling me coconut. That's what I wanted. And the other 5 to 10 year was to make other parts of the world know us. And the Caribbean to know us. And the place in which I got the Caribbean to know us is CARICOM. And I'm very grateful to CARICOM for that. And I'm very grateful to the Ministry of Culture for having assisted us in that endeavor, And that was to get the Caribbean to know us. And then there's also getting the world at large. So our tours have been to China, Japan, Africa, all over the world. And the last tour, which was very successful, was to New York City. After going to being on BAM 20 years ago, we went back to New York, and now the aim is to continuously tour.
Until it stands. You have answered the questions time squared. We could continue this, but we have to end it.
We have to, because we don't want the people to drop asleep.
No, we don't want them to not come to the thing, because we know too much. We want them to come to experience the dance.
Yes, yes.
So thank you so much. You said the honor is yours, but the honor is entirely mine.
Thank you.
And I look forward to the next season.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
I'm thinking about it now.